Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll give everyone just a couple of minutes to get in and get everything set up, and then we will get started. While we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and share a link in the chat to the slides for today so that everyone can look at those and follow along. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to everyone for being here today. We are here for our monthly family webinar. My name is Sarah Untersee. I'm a consultant here at Region 10 Education Service Center. And I will let Jim Wright introduce himself from Partners Resource Network.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here on a sunny afternoon, finally. I'm Jim Wright with Partners Resource Network. We are Texas's PTI. We're funded by the Department of Education to serve as the PTI for this area. One thing that's interesting about PTIs is that we have to hire staff that have children with disabilities. And so I have 2 children with disabilities in the system, and they've been a great success story through the partnership with special education. And so I'm excited here to have Carrie with us today because I know she has similar stories. So it's good seeing you, Carrie.
Great, good seeing you.
Okay, we are pleased to welcome Carrie Stallings with us from Texas Workforce Solutions, and she is going to be giving us some updates from the Texas Workforce Commission. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, and Carrie, I will turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Stallings. I'm a transition vocational rehabilitation counselor for Texas Workforce Solutions Vocational Rehab Services. It's a mouthful, but we're VR, so vocational rehab. And I work with the students that are 14 to 22 and while they're still in school. So I'm going to go over a little bit about what TWC is from kind of the transition standpoint. And I'm going to give you some examples of what some of the stuff we're going to be doing this summer. So if you have any questions, please put those in the chat or do question and answer. Somebody's going to be watching those, I'm sure. So I'm going to go ahead and share. It just worked because I just did it.
You're a curse today.
It's like anytime technology comes up, it just happens. That's how it is. Okay.
I'll let you try for just a second, but let me know if you can't get it because I think I do have it pulled up on my computer, so I can always share if you need me to.
You might have to because now it's not coming up at all.
I am opening it on mine.
I'm sorry about that.
Not a problem at all.
Not sure.
Okay, did that work?
It worked. Wonderful. Can everybody see that? I hope so.
And Carrie, just let me know whenever it's time to switch. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself again, but yeah, just tell me and I'll scroll down when you're ready.
Okay, great. So Sarah, you can go on through. This is just the emblem, Workforce Solutions Vocational Rehab. So I wanted to share a little bit about what the purpose is for VR. And so we are here to help people who have disabilities obtain and maintain employment. That is the whole purpose of what we do. So as a transition counselor, I am focusing on getting these students, these young adults ready to have a job. And that includes independent living and all of these other areas that we touch on in school and during little camps and classes and things. So we'll go through those. We are an eligibility based and tailored to the individual. We are not a right to type of service. You have a right to go to school. This is not one of those. This is an eligibility based. And so it's volunteer. You can do it if you qualify. They are not intended to be emergency services. That's a little different. So we are here to provide services, but it's not emergency type services. So if you lose your housing and it becomes an emergency, it's not something that we can jump on and help with. That doesn't mean we can't be assisting, trying to help find resources. We're just not going to be there to do that emergency type situation, crisis solving. They are arranged and provided by a vocational rehab counselor with consideration for individual choice. And this is one thing that I run into a lot with my students, because parents visit with each other. We need a network. We need that parent network to support each other. And during that, sometimes different services are shared with other parents, and the parents are really concerned. Why is my student not getting to do this certain thing? So I welcome, if it's my students that I serve, I welcome the parents to call, ask, text, email me, and ask why, or, about it, because it's something maybe we can do. But a lot of times it's individualized. And so that just may not be the best service for their student. Okay, you can go to the next one. So there are two different types of programs. And again, this is more based on transition services. There's a potentially eligible and there's an active or VR eligible. I'm going to focus a little bit on what potentially eligible is, because I have attended several different types of planning meetings, where the schools come together and they talk. And there were a lot of concerns and questions about why we weren't moving students completely over into the active status, which means, as you can see in the green box, is a more formal process. It requires the application, it requires the eligibility process, it's lots of documentation, takes a lot of time. It can be up to like 6 months before we even get a plan signed, and then it has to be updated frequently. Whereas the potentially eligible, the blue box, is a great opportunity to allow us to provide as much services as we possibly can for your student. And so what I like to see is it's more of an informal service. There are consents, there's a little bit of paperwork, but overall, if I have a program come up or an opportunity, I can email you and you say, hey, I really think this would be great for my son or daughter. Then if I already have a consent signed for that provider, I can hit that off and go ahead and send the referral over and have that ready. Whereas with active, we would have to do a lot more work to get that going. So potentially eligible is something that I keep the students in up until the point when either they are going into employment, which is the permanent employment where they are hired on and expected competitive integrative employment, or they are aging out of services. And so that is when I start kind of moving them over if we're still headed towards that employment piece. Okay, next slide. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what pre-ETS is. That's what you're going to hear it as, pre-ETS. It's pre-employment training. So this is all the training, all the things that we need to know as an individual to be successful at employment. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So I did a little, I did this, it made a lot of sense when I did it. I don't know if it makes sense to y'all, but I'm hoping it's a little more clear than another slide I had. So the top title is Career Exploration, Counseling on Post-Secondary Opportunities, Workplace Readiness, Self-Advocacy, and Work-Based Learning. Those are the 5 core pre-ETS services that we provide as transition counselors. Those are key to what we can do for these kids. If there's a program or something that the state can support and it's touching on one of these core topics, that is something I can definitely look into to see if we can get with your kid or student. So like career exploration, examples of that, ONET, that's something I know the schools have used in the past. It has a great opportunities to look through. You can do different sidewalks where you connect skills. So if they have a good skill in this area and they want to be an engineer, but we're not quite going to be able to do the bachelor's and the master's degree, what are those skills that an engineer needs? And you can sidewalk that over into some other opportunities to look at. We also, Career One Stop, love that site. I recommend that a lot. My Next Move also is good. The two things that I can provide is the Berkman assessment. This is kind of like a regular interest survey, but it kind of pulls in how your personality is. So what are the things I need to feel successful so that I can do my best? And what are things that stress me out and I won't do my best? So it kind of pulls in both those personality and interest levels. Now, it doesn't necessarily say, okay, this is the job for you, but it kind of points you into a direction, kind of like the rest of the surveys, and gives a lot of really good information. Another one is the pre-ETS contracted camps or classes. These are the ones that we have providers create and provide for our students or customers to attend so that they can cover all of these areas. Counseling on post-secondary opportunities. This can go in a couple of different directions. So it's exploring the post-secondary programs to identify the best program for them and their goals. So yes, post-secondary opportunities, not necessarily post-secondary education. Now, a lot of times we do speak about post-secondary education because universities and colleges have started really doing some inclusive programming and some great things happening where we can use those types of programs. However, it's not always just secondary. Maybe it's post-secondary training or post-secondary work to get to another goal that they have. So we do that, like thinkcollege.net. That's a great resource for parents and teachers because it goes through all of the specialized type of programming that universities and colleges have for students who necessarily won't get a bachelor's and associate's degree. Workplace readiness is the next one. This is kind of where you just chunk everything in there. This is what we all need to have. This is why we usually lose our jobs, kind of, that appropriate decorum, how we dress, hygiene, all of these things that we do in order to keep a job. And transportation is a part of that, independent skills. So there is a soft skills program through the youth. I attached that PDF. You can look at that, but then pre-ETS contracted camps and classes are really where I focus those on. Those teach our students so much about what is appropriate dress, what is appropriate hygiene. How do I speak to my manager? Can I say, yo, what's up, man, to my manager? No, probably not. That's not appropriate. You can maybe speak like that to your friend or family, but not your management, not coworkers. So they're teaching those little pieces of information that sometimes we don't understand and connect with so that our students, when they do get that job, they do get that employment finally, they're going to be successful. Self-advocacy. This is huge. Learning to make decisions about your own life, expressing your needs, speaking up for yourself. So many times our students, and I am a mom of a special needs student, and I am so guilty. There are so many things that my son could do for himself, and I just automatically do it. Don't even think about it. It's just the mom in me, right? And I know Jim has that same issue sometimes. We all do. We just do what we think we need to do for our kids, but that doesn't actually help them learn, does it? So reminding ourselves, reminding that self-advocacy, getting that taught, and that's, those are some things we go through on camps and classes as well, is it's important to be able to say, this is what I need to be successful. I need to sit on the right side of you so that I can see and hear you better. I need you to write down what I need to do for tasks so that I can see it, because I'm a visual learner, whatever those things are. And speaking up, a lot of times, for example, my son is deafblind. So we have some friends that are deaf, and I make my son order for himself. I know that sounds awful, but I do. You know what? You're going to have to do it eventually one day. So I have him, in the beginning, it was awful. It was really hard. It was awkward. The poor waiter and waitress would just stand there like, I don't know what I'm doing. So, but now he can order, I want a hamburger, I just want tomatoes and ketchup on it, and I want, so he's got this down. We were at dinner with another family, and the student, this friend of ours, he wasn't able to order for himself, and he's going off to college this year. And so that's scary. If those are the things that we're still trying to teach when they're about to head off to college, we're falling behind, right? And so those are the things that we encourage in these camps and in these classes is to teach that self-advocacy, to be able to speak up for yourself, be able to say what you need. Work-based learning is another huge one. Work-based learning kind of takes all of the career exploration, the workplace readiness, and self-advocacy, kind of balls that up and does, because that's where you're going to work sites and you're doing informational interviews. We do this through the camps and the classes. Many of you are familiar with SEAL, Summer Earn and Learn. That's a 5-week program that's offered through the Texas Workforce Commission. They do that. It's a work experience opportunity, and it's short term during the summer. We also have those work experience trainings with other providers that do that through the summer and through the school year. And so that teaches them how to do tasks on site. So they generalize that learning that they're getting from their career class at school, or from their, the class that they had just attended that morning at a camp, and then they go out in the afternoon and ask questions to a manager to see kind of, do some informational interviews or shadowing. So that's kind of what work-based learning looks like. Any questions on that? Because I'm about to be done. If not, I'll go to the next one, and it gives some information on how to locate. So
Yeah,
this is,
we did have a question. Sorry
Sure.
about that. I couldn't find my mute button. The question we had there's a little bit earlier in the presentation is that a student is graduating this year at age 19. Can they remain in the potential eligible, or do they need to push for the active or VR eligible?
So that's going to depend. If they are graduating out, which means they are no longer going to be in the ISD district, then yeah, they would not qualify for potentially eligible. They would then go under adult services likely. Now, I do have some confusion a lot of times when parents are like, well, yeah, they're graduating because they're walking with their peers, but then they are also going to attend the 18 plus program the following year, which means they are still within the ISD programming. And so they would still be considered a student that I could work with. Now, if this student at age 19 goes in and goes to a college class and gets enrolled and registered and going, then they again would be qualified for services through transition type programming. They would likely still go to an adult counselor, but they would still qualify for some of this.
All right, I'm checking to see if that answered the question. Yes, she said thank you.
Okay. So this pay, was there anything else? I'm sorry, Jim.
That's right now.
So far?
Yes.
So this is how to get started. If you don't know who your assigned VR counselor is, you can always start here. You can go to this website, put in your zip code, put in the county you live in. It will come up with all of the local workforce vocational rehab centers. Okay. Now with this, we have to remember Plano is one of the few offices that have not co-located with the Workforce Solutions office. So because of that, we still have a separate phone number, we have a separate address, whereas a lot of other offices have now co-located and they call one number. So you need to remember when you call that number that you need to ask for vocational rehabilitation services, not just Texas Workforce Solutions, okay? But you can go in there, look it up, and you can find all sorts of information, the addresses, the phone numbers, on how to contact, and you just give them a call that way. Next. This is my information. I serve Plano ISD, Lovejoy ISD, private schools within Plano ISD, homeschools, so that kind of area. Preferred contact method is definitely email because I'm in and out of places frequently and I can't always get to a phone. But your cell phones make it really easy just to kind of text back or email back. So that is the preferred contact method, but you do have the other methods there you can contact me on. And that is it.
Thank you so much for presenting. We'll give everyone just a couple of minutes in case there are any other questions that come up.
Sure.
And while everyone is doing that and we're giving everyone a chance, I'm going to talk just for a couple minutes about what we have coming up. We have one more webinar for this school year that will take place in May. It is on May 3rd. Yes, same time, 12 o'clock for English, 1 o'clock for Spanish. I am going to put the link to the flyer into the chat so that you all have that and can register very easily. Again, just like always, if you have questions about special education, SpedTex is here to help. Spedtex.org is the website. And I will also put the phone number in the chat as well, in case you would like to call to answer questions. And then I will let Jim talk about Partners Resource Network. I see one question about previous recordings. Yes, the Region 10 YouTube website has all of the recordings from the webinars that we've had earlier this year. This one will be posted as well. It takes about a week or so because we have to make that accessible before we put that onto the website. But I will grab the link from that while Jim is talking as well and include that in the chat for everyone.
Yes. Is there any other questions that we have for Carrie or for Partners Resource Network? Because one thing that Sarah and I are doing right now is that we're trying to plan a seminar or symposium called Building Bridges in the fall. And we would love any type of feedback of what type of subjects that you're looking for, what type of information that you're really needing to be successful and supporting your child and advocating for your child. And so if you have any comments about that, we'd be great for that. And then if you could take a moment to answer this poll for us. This Partners Resource Network, we are funded by the Department of Education, so we have to have measurement of our quality and that we are providing services that we told the government we would provide. And so if you can take this very quick poll, that would really help us in achieving that goal and make my boss happy with me. It's always important to keep the boss person happy, right? And I do want to thank everybody for taking the time to attend this. I know I'm excited to hear from Carrie every time because it's just so important that services that the Texas workforce provides for our population and for our kids. And, K through 12 seems like it's a long time, but once you get to the end of it, you realize the adulthood's a lot longer. And it's important to know the resources and the support that our kids need to be successful and to reach their potential. So thank you again, Carrie, for taking the time.
Definitely. Thank y'all.
All right. And Jackie says that Carrie's helped her directly, and she's a rebound again in 2 more years. So keep your
Awesome. You'll already know it. You've got it down. Great. Thank you, Jackie. And yeah, y'all have my contact info if you want to share that on the chat as well. That is fine. And I'll always answer any questions I can that y'all have. Okay. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Carrie. We appreciate your time. I'll wait just a couple minutes before I officially end the webinar just to give everybody a chance to finish up on the poll. But we appreciate your time today.